Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Derek and Craig. We're going to kind of, get started this morning. It's kind of cool down here in Florida, and Craig was supposed to get snow, but he never did. So I don't know. We're down here in the 40s or something like that. That wind cranked up, Craig, makes it feel that humid air makes it feel about 10 or 15 degrees colder than what it really is. But they say we're a little bit below normal. I like the weather myself. I mean, I don't mind throwing a jacket on once in a while because down here it was so brutal this past summer, heat wise. I'm kind of thankful for this, but did post some stuff up on a couple Facebook pages about those. I'm calling them chisels right now, Craig, but I've had some interesting responses because I'm trying to date them. It's real hard when you get a piece of iron that's that old. And of course, it depends on the soil conditions and weather and all that kind of stuff down here in Florida. But I know one of them is a wood chisel or a mason chisel of some kind, something like that. The other piece is considerably older, found like 10 feet apart, from, in the same site, like 10 feet apart. But I've been, finding this old, corroded up stuff. I mean, just these artifacts, I guess you can call it. And just trying to get dates, but I've had some interesting responses from them. I mean, some people are saying, well, they're not iron, but well, they are iron. They're not, both of those items are iron. They're not some kind of off kind of steel or something like that. But there was one lady up there, Craig, I think she's near you in the Shenandoah Valley. And she's freaking out. She goes, I found something just like that. And it had the same size, same look. And some kind of oxidized blood on it or something like that, which I've never come across anything like that part of it. But she doesn't appear to be like a detectorist. She doesn't have a lot of stuff up on her site like that, but she's like more like a nature walker, whatever you want to call it, trail walker and stuff. So all I can go by is what she's saying. Or one fellow from the Noctis site was saying it was armored scale iron. Spanish or something like that, which it could very well be. I mean, there was, Spanish occupied Florida for, 200 years or whatever. I don't know if it's that old or not. I'm kind of clueless. I mean, you get to the point where you're out of your wheelhouse, and so I'm kind of saving everything, and I'm not cleaning anything else, Craig. Only enough to see maybe what it is, but I kind of used a wire brush on both those items right there, so I got video of it. I'll probably put those up. Where I found both of those items, they look the same, but they look a little bit different, I guess, in the way they're shaped. But they're thicker. They're not. Somebody was saying it's a hoe blade. It's definitely not a hoe. Why would you have a 3-inch hoe, or 4-inch hoe? I mean, it's some kind of a striking object, where you strike it down, whether it's a chisel or the one could be possibly, I was thinking a hatchet blade, like it broke off right where the handle goes through. It kind of has that look about it. I don't know. It's kind of one of those throw in the air and see what happens kind of thing. But I'm just finding too many items from different eras. I have several that are obviously very early, 1800s, early 1800s anyways. Then I have, a lot of 1920 stuff, and or between 1900 and 1930, I should say. I find a lot of stuff also. So there's multiple eras that I'm digging on right now. That's why I'm kind of layering it off of there. But I'm digging all these iron signals, Craig. I'm just going to keep on doing it. Get that iron out of the way, because the iron turns out to be kind of cool too, on this site anyway. What are you doing? I mean, you're hitting your yard. You're digging any repeatable signal. I mean, are you coming up? I know you came up with the old chisel or spike or whatever it was. You've come up, but you're also looking for artillery shells. So I mean,
yeah. Like we were talking a little bit earlier, the 6-inch coil doesn't discriminate quite as well as the 11-inch.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to get repeatable signals in iron where I don't on the 11-inch coil, but I'm opening it up too. But it's amazing how small. I mean, little tiny pieces of foil come back fairly strong. It's You know, I inched the thing across the ground. Just, you know, I keep it in 50 tones, you know, and I'm just listening, you know, for any little tweak or something, you know, that might be repeatable. And some of them I dig aren't repeatable. You know, they come back in one direction, but sometimes they turn out to be something good.
Right.
I get big iron, you know, solid pieces of iron that are, you know, fairly thick. They might be fairly small, but they're thick pieces, but they'll come back in both directions. But I can almost tell by the sound, you know, that it might be iron, but I don't mind that. I'm just trying to pick something out of the yard and just kind of crawling along, you know. And you know, it's there's one thing I realized is how much iron is in some of the, you know, there's parts of my yard that have a lot more iron than other parts. So there's this one place where I was having trouble getting bullets at 5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
The signal just weren't, you know, it's just the ground is like black with carbon and all kinds of nails, and every time you dig a hole, you see pottery and, you know, chopped up, you know, little pieces of brick, and you know, it's just the ground is just so busy, it's unbelievable. So this little coil, this actually, you know, picking stuff out, but I'm picking up the smallest, tiny little things. I picked up. I got a good signal that it was reading on 2, and it was a tiny piece of brass. I couldn't believe how, you know, it was picking it up like that. So, you know, definitely a small coil is more sensitive to small things.
Right.
But I've been watching Digging with 7, and I've also been watching this guy Find in America. His name is I think it's Tom or something, but they've been using these 6-inch coils in sites that they've been hunting for 3 to 5 years, and you know, they're picking stuff out, and they're in, some of them are in wooded areas where it's, you know, you got to go around the bushes and the sticks and stuff, so the little coil will kind of sneak it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was hunting up against the fence, you know, and I could get a little bit closer with that 6-inch coil to the fence, and you know, and I could practically rub the, you know, the edge of the coil on the fence, and it doesn't, you know, react.
Good.
But yeah, so it's just you know, just testing the coil and trying to, you know, see which programs will pick the most stuff out of the ground, you know, and I'm running the recovery speed at 4 to get more depth, you know, out of the coil, because the coil just doesn't go that deep. But
well, it's more of it's more of a sniper coil too. I mean, it's the unmasked stuff, getting between stuff. At least, you know, as I was asking you just before the show, me and Craig talk, you know, usually about 5 or 10 minutes before the show, and as you know, as far as this iron, he's looking for, you know, these artillery shells and shrapnel and this and that and the other thing. You know, maybe this detector will help you get, if anything else, help you find those, the stuff that the bigger coils kind of discriminating out.
mm-hmm.
You know, the
Yeah,
chunks.
I don't mind digging some iron up. You know, the bigger iron, but you know, I found 2 pieces of artillery shell in the yard. There's been, you know, a bunch on the other side of the alley from me. You know, the guy over there said that he, with a cheap detector, found a bunch. But you know, it's you just never know what you're going to find. I got a couple small railroad spikes, probably from 1860s or something.
Right.
So that, you know, just you know, there's parts of my yard that it's just like you know, a trash pit under the ground with all kinds of stuff in it. So, you know, I'm gonna. There's a little section between my house and Steve's house that, you know, I've cut a lot of it down, but it's fairly overgrown. But I found a breastplate and one of the wreaths in there, and a couple other things. Not a whole lot. It's, you know, there's just a lot of junk and stuff. It's like stuff that people would throw out the back of their house, in the 1880s. But there's got to be more stuff in there, and I'm going to probably start digging that up, in the winter. But I want to clear all that. It just gets like a jungle in there with all kinds of weeds and stuff. So I've that's kind of the last part of the yard that I haven't really worked on. It's hard, but I know there's got to be more stuff in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's all layered up so bad in there, Craig. I mean, you've been hunting. I mean, it's just like your other house that you had in Alexandria, really. You dug there for what, 30 years or whatever it'd been, and when you went in there with then your brother goes in with a bobcat and just, rips up that one corner. You start finding all kinds of stuff again. It's layered to, 2 foot down in that yard. Same way, in your new yard. It's just amazing how this stuff can get in there. And it's, these are targets that, the one thing I found that's strange is that the way that the items are sitting in the ground, it could be, like a quarter. I mean, you put a quarter on edge, it's real difficult for most detectors to get that at any kind of real depth, because there's no surface area. So, going through and you're digging up these other targets, and I've had to check, checking the holes. You're pulling out nails, you're pulling out whatever. You're just pulling all that stuff out. You're disturbing all that ground. Then you fill it back in, and of course, you check the hole. When you're starting off again, but everything's disturbed down in there. And like a week later, once it settles a little bit, then all of a sudden you get another signal right next to the hole. And it's like, how in the world did I miss that? Well, the detector couldn't hear it because everything was all disturbed and brought air into the situation, and the halos were broken. And it's just oxidization. That's all that is. For you newer people, it's just picture a piece of iron down in the ground, or a bottle cap that's been in the ground for 20 years, and when you dig it up, you get those rust stains or whatever you want to call it all around the item. Well, your detector can pick that up, makes the item seem bigger, makes it easier for the detector to find. Of course, you break the halo. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
They tend to fall. I noticed those things tend to fall apart in the ground too. They just start cracking into little pieces, and you get a little bit of a buzz off those with the 6-inch coil. But it's I had one signal that I dug with the bliss tool. I was kind of cleaning out right along the fence, and I've been in there with the Equinox, and I found, I think, 2 wheat pennies. And I ended up finding, I think, 2 wheat pennies and a regular penny, regular copper penny with the bliss tool. But I was getting these scratchy signals, and I knew they were probably, bottle caps, but I wanted to get them out of the way. Maybe it was masking something, but I got 22 out of one hole.
Jeez.
I don't know why all those were in one hole, but I did get a clay marble out of the hole. So that was pretty wild. But
well, even
with this little coil just walking across my yard, it just it picks up so much more junk in the ground. It's just because it doesn't discriminate quite as well. It's you can hear all the noise in the ground.
Yeah, like
I've been trying to run it quiet in some areas, but then I think I lose a little depth. But
well, you remember what I was doing. I don't know if the detector does. I'm assuming it kind of does the same thing. It modulates over a good, non-ferrous signal. But remember when I was running that 7x9 in your Alexandria yard, it's like pop, pop, pink, beep, beep, beep. When you went over something non-ferrous, it was like it was a noticeable change. Is that kind of what that coil's doing? Or is it reacting the same on everything?
Yeah, no, it's when I go over something, I can tell the difference. That's the one thing. Iron tends to have all kinds of little nuances to it.
Right.
Sometimes it sounds good. Sometimes it you get a signal in one direction, but nothing the other way at all.
Right.
Sometimes you get like these rejection signals, where it's like it's almost like hissing. It's or it's, I don't know. It's almost like it's trying to pick the signal up, but it's kind of rejecting it. Uh, the Bliss tool does that a lot too. On big iron, it'll make these rejection signals, and then after the second or third swing, it starts. The rejection signal starts going away.
Yeah, it won't lock on. It'll start letting go of it and start. Like when you're swinging, it'll beep real good, and then you going back and forth, and all of a sudden you'll start losing it more and more and more. It's kind of like learning or whatever. It's just telling you it's not desirable or not a desirable metal, which it can work in your favor, but I'm starting to think a little bit, depending on the site you're on and what the date is on it, it can work against you too. I mean, you start, it's like this site. I'm digging with the simplex number 4. 4 on the VDI number. It locks onto that. That's cast iron all day long. I mean, it just boom, 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 4, 4, 4. Doesn't jump. Doesn't. And then I'll hit another piece of cast iron, Craig. I don't know whether it's the way they make it, what they mix the metal, what it's, you know what I mean, what kind of metals they're mixing in to make the cast. Because I start getting some high numbers on that, cast iron once in a while. It doesn't seem to matter about the size of it. As far as the piece that I'm digging, the surface area, sometimes that stuff will jump up into the 40s and 50s. And then back down into the teens or single digit numbers. And, iron, it just seems to knock out. Like I've dug holes. I'm getting like a repeatable signal. I think it was where the pocket watch was, or a few other items, the harmonica reed thing. I can hear that repeatable modulated high pitched beep or whatever, the tone in, and then there's a bunch of iron in there and like nails and stuff. And I can hear it. I can pick it up. So there's a piece of non-ferrous there. I'll take a scoop out, take another scoop out. And I'm like, well, here's a nail, here's a nail, here's a square nail, here's this kind of nail. And then all of a sudden, boom, I find the item in, whatever, a non-ferrous item in there. I get that little item out. Everything else is just spits and like iron. It just amazes me that it's picking up. It's just that one little piece of non-ferrous amongst all that iron. And Equinox does the same thing. It's separating it out. I mean, you can't ask for more than that out of a detector. I mean, because a lot of detectors that I've had in the past, and especially in that price range, they would just reject it out. I mean, they can't tell, or we can't hear it. And sound has a lot to do with these machines anymore. It just you can notice the imperfections. You can something will have a zippy sound or a grindy sound, or trying to explain these nuances, but it's so noticeable and stands out so well. Hey, I think this is junk, but I gotta dig it. It just sounds good. It's something about it makes it sound like it's different. And you dig it up and it's something really old and really just like really corroded up and everything. Well, that's what you're after. That's the treasure right there. If anything else, you're getting it out of the way, but you never know what it's going to be. You had that one, Craig, where you dug that railroad spike and this and that out of the hole, and then it turns out to be a good item in there. That wreath. That was kind of a perfect example of. And once you got that wreath out of there, you lost. There was no more non-ferrous. It was all iron. So it's like okay, that's what it was, but you had it unmasked that. I mean, you can't. Some detectors do that very well. Some don't. They all have their strong points and their weak points. We had a big discussion on the Noctis site about the simplex, and a couple of the guys were saying, "Oh my God, they're hitting the pinpoint buttons really hard and doing this and that." And so I just kind of piped in. I said, "I've only been using the detector for, I don't know if I had it out 4 or 5 times already, and it's kind of tricky to turn the machine off." It's not a major thing. It's just like you hold the button down to turn it off, obviously. If you hold it too long, it just reboots and comes back up again. So you just got to know, you push it down, hold it down for 2 or 3 seconds, and then let go of it, and you're fine. But, it's like we're nitpicking on this machine.
Yeah. The Equinox is kind of like that, too.
Right. Well, they make, it's durability thing, Craig. It's like I told them, I said, I think Nocta and MindLab, they built bulletproof machines is what they wanted. They knew, well, especially with the simplex, because it was designed for a certain market of people, like newcomers to the hobby, people that didn't have a ton of money to throw into a metal detector. They're getting a good metal detector at a good price. So they're going to make the thing
Well,
bulletproof so it
they
doesn't.
they wanted to make a cheaper machine that had high end, performance, and
Right.
they've definitely done it. I mean, I was watching Quarter Hoarder, and there's a guy Doug that hunts with them, and big AT Pro guy, uses big coil, and Quarter was also using that same rig, and he's gone to the Amphibio. I don't know if it's a multi-cruiser or the other, or I think it might be the multi-cruiser. I'm not sure, but anyway, he's so impressed he's not going to be using the AT Pro anymore.
Yeah, it's just different. I mean, not the AT Pro is bad or nothing. I mean, it found me a bunch of stuff too, but it's just different.
But anyway, he got a simplex to play around with, and this guy Doug grabbed a hold of it supposedly, and he won't let go. And so it looks like he might be switching to the simplex, and it's definitely going to be easier to swing too. I mean,
it's a breeze, man. It's a breeze. It's like the Equinox that way. I mean, it has to be the same weight. I mean, I don't know design wise. I haven't looked at them side by side to see the angle of the handle or anything like that, but I don't know, Craig. I can swing that thing all day long.
One thing, having a 6-inch coil on the Equinox is kind of weird swinging it, because your weight is all up on your arm, and it's not on the ground at all.
Right.
It's
like it's balanced different. Yeah.
I had to shorten it because it was starting to affect my wrist a little bit when I was swinging it. But once I shortened it and had it down, where my wrist was, my arm was straight down, and all I had to do was swing back and forth, and it didn't have any problem with my wrist anymore. But I was starting to feel it a little bit on that little coil. But I just like jigger it across the ground. I just like real short, tiny little swings. I mean, you got to kind of practice. It's a little different than your normal swing. And I'm just trying to navigate around those iron signals to try to tweak something out. It's different. I've never had a coil this small before ever.
Yeah, well, Craig, Gavin's asking, Craig, does the 6-inch coil pinpoint okay using the detector, or do you use the wiggle method and use the toe of the coil? Myself, I like to use the wiggle method myself with good result. So
yeah, when you're in the heavy iron, you kind of almost have to pinpoint and discriminate. I found that sometimes with the bigger coil, when you get a heavy iron, and it's close to the target, the pinpoint will just grab it. It'll grab that iron instead of the good target a lot of times.
Yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
I've dug past big iron because, dug right down on big iron and past the target. I normally, I regularly dig, 3 nails out of a hole on a 6-inch target, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. But if it gets more than about 3 nails, and they're above the target, that starts getting to be a problem. But if they're below the target, I can, usually pick out the target in the nails.
Right. And see, with me, it's hard for me to tell what if the nails were above or below targets, only because I take such a big scoop out of the ground. Of course, I had somebody tell me that it's not the way you dig a hole, or I'm like, and I try to say it in my video, hey, I'm in the middle of a beat up pasture that has cattle in it, rocks everywhere, junk in it. It's not a pristine pasture by any means, and I dig the holes like the guy told me. He says, you just dig a hole, fill it in. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just fill in the holes. So that's what I do. It's not somebody's yard where a sculpted yard where I have to be careful and, like make a perfect 3-sided plug and flip it over. I can pretty much dig, and as long as I fill in the holes, That's all the guy cares about. He's totally happy. He says, like, no big deal. So, I mean, it depends on the site you're on. I always ask the landowner. Obviously, you want to fill in your holes anyways, but I don't have to be perfect on it. I don't have to, worry about the way it looks. As long as it, after a first rainstorm or something like that, it'll be fine. And, luckily enough, I live in, Florida where there's a lot of sand. So, I mean, the sand, when it rains on it, just washes right into all the little cracks. And, the next time I'm out there, you look around and you won't even probably be able to tell where I dug at. So, but I did have somebody comment on that. I'm like, I'm not. It's not an education on how to dig a hole. It's pretty much what the detector's finding. But yeah, as far as the buttons and stuff go, we had a big discussion about that. We kind of got off topic, Craig. This machine, the engineers designed it to be bulletproof. They knew they're going to have new users using this machine. People are tough, especially here in the States. We're rough on all the equipment we use for metal detecting. I mean, we dropping it, tripping on it, and everything else. So you want to make sure that, the detector can handle it. And the buttons are the same way. They're strong buttons. You have to mean to hit them, because I used to hear this with the bliss tool, Craig, and it's happened to us too. With, I didn't realize, but I bumped the toggle and it went into discrimination toggle 1. And I wasn't getting any signals, and I couldn't figure it out. Well, if that happened to a new person that just bought the detector, they're automatically thinking the detector's not finding something, and all it was is just you bumped a knob. You can't just bump these buttons and make them change. They're not going to. You have to physically push these buttons. So it's actually better once the machine's set up. I mean, you have to mean to hit it to make it change. They had guns like that. I mean, a couple handguns. I can't remember what brand it was, but I owned one of them. In order to fire the gun, Craig, you had to mean to fire it, because it was so many, such a strong trigger pull, such a strong whatever. So it's kind of the same theory with metal detectors. They made it durable, they made it strong. It's also an underwater detector, so I don't know how that affects. Like the buttons and all that, everything's heavy duty because it has to be able to withstand, being watertight and everything also. But there, it was pretty bad, not pretty bad, but there was a couple people that even said it too. He goes, we can't crib about anything else on this detector except for how hard the buttons are to push. I mean, give me a break, Same with the Equinox, it's, or the, I'm trying to think of a few others.
I heard that, the pinpoint buttons on the left side instead of in the middle. So people were complaining that, it or something,
Well, it's a different ergonomically, it's a little bit different. But you're talking about what, an inch of space on a control board or whatever. It's actually, I don't know. I think it's better where it's at. If you're right-handed and you're swinging the detector right-handed, you bring your thumb up, it's to the left side of the screen. It's easier to hit than in the center. But you're just not used to doing it. You're used to always going to the center button. I can see where that might be a problem, especially for a left-hander. Because if a left-hander's swinging it,
It may have, MindLab might have had a patent or something on the control panel or something, and they might have to change, something on that too. I don't know.
I never have a problem with the pinpoint button.
I don't
know.
That doesn't seem like a problem to me.
No, it's cribbing.
I've seen people, complaining about that, but what I'm seeing, veteran hunters are very impressed with this machine. That normally wouldn't even be considered a $300 and some machine.
I like the idea that the settings button, where the modes, you could switch very easily into any of the modes at the top, simply by using the right hand. It's even with you got a left button, which is pinpoint, center button, which is, oh God, now I can't remember. Anyways, and then there's a setting button over on the right. It's real easy to switch between field and park. And I've been doing that a lot. Like if I get something in field or in park, I switch over into field, especially if I'm not getting a VDI number. It's deep item. I switch over into field very easily, go over it. Okay, now it's giving me a VDI, and I have a kind of an idea that it's going to be, non-ferrous or ferrous or whatever. It's a way for investigating easier. as far as the only thing that was kind of lengthy was going through the different to change the volume. I'm trying to remember now. You click on, there's another button, you settings button or whatever. You can click over to like volume, and then it goes to frequency, offset, and I don't know, all the things that you can adjust. Well, I go over to the iron volume, and I'm looking at it. So okay, it's on whatever. It doesn't have numbers. It has the level, whatever it's like a lines, for a level. And I'm like thinking about it, and it goes back to the main screen. So I have to hit the button again and go paying back through. And now I know what I want to do, and up and down, move the iron volume up or down. That it's kind of like petty stuff to worry about, though. I mean, Craig, every machine has its little quirks, but if that's the only thing they can find wrong with the thing, well, I'll take that.
Well,
There's
a certain percentage of people that tend to look toward the negative side or try to see problems that aren't really that.
I just want the thing to start digging for me. I mean, I'm kind of upset about that. It doesn't dig the hole for me and retrieve the target.
There was a guy commenting, he didn't think to the Equinox, and but he's using a machine from back in the 1980s.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But people get, they get. I've never really cared, that much. I don't really care what people think. I only care what I think.
Yeah. So, proof is in the pudding. Amy? Proof is in the pudding.
Some people, they get all, protective of brands and stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to find stuff,
That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Well, I heard one guy said it to you. It says, Equinox is overrated metal detector. Well, no, it's finding stuff. I mean, it's working good. It's working different. Not that it's the best one out there, but it's darn sure doing stuff that, our other detectors haven't done, from what I've seen, what you've done with it. And I know the Equinox, I mean, I had the Quest Pro, I've had the AT Pro, I've had, all these detectors. Not that they're worse or anything. It's just that, hey, this Simplex is doing a pretty damn good job. It's keeping my interest. It's not a bother to wonder if I'm going to find something. I just got to keep in mind that it unmasks very well, so I got to listen a little harder to hear the imperfections or hear the nuances, because I don't want to walk on a good target. That's, with the Quest Pro, I mean, it was a good detector. I found stuff with it and everything, but I didn't have it. I don't know. It wasn't for me so much. Did a good job. It was waterproof, the whole 9 yards. It just, the Simplex is simpler. I don't know. I can concentrate on metal detecting and not worry about the machine so much. I did the first couple times out, and I do it more to, I'm learning the machine at the same time you are, kind of thing. And, what I'm listening to, what I'm doing is what I do with any metal detector when I'm getting to know it. There's a learning curve to every metal detector you'll ever buy. There's little quirks, little things that work, little things that don't. And, kind of like what you're doing with the Equinox, Craig. You're going, got a new coil now, so you got to figure the ins or outs, or what the, maybe there's a way to make that coil even better setting-wise. They might come up with a NAM firmware update just for that coil and make, that's what I was thinking MindLab would do, is where, you're pretty much programmed into the 11-inch coil, whatever came with it, and now they came up with a 6-inch coil. Are they going to come up with a total new, a screen where you can, say that you're using the 6-inch coil or the 11-inch coil, and can they have preset programs for that 6-inch coil to make it more sensitive, but not so sensitive that it's picking up little pieces of foil or whatever that they can unmask easier, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I can see them doing that down the road.
They can do it easy enough.
The 15-inch coil also.
Right. Make them more adaptable, or make that machine adaptable to different coils.
Yeah, this guy, that called his YouTube channel is called Finding America, and he uses all 3 coils, and he's taught, I've seen where he's unmasked even with the 15-inch coil. So he's saying that, it doesn't go, a lot deeper, but you get stronger hits and better ID numbers on deeper targets that you might not dig, normally. But I was just, those, him and Seven are really, doing well with those small coils, and that's the thing. My yard is so busy. It's just so many targets in the ground.
And you're also
started
running.
Thinking,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Years ago, the type of detector that guy was using that he's complaining about, the Equinox isn't any good. That was an iron grabbing machine. I had a model that was just under it. His was the Fisher 1266. I had the 65, and it ran at, I think, around 6 or 7 kilohertz. So it just loved iron. It loved lead. I mean, I could dig a bullet unbelievably deep.
Mm-hmm.
He claims he dug a button at 15 inches. I don't know, because I never did. It like brass to me. It just didn't go, deep on brass. It would go deep on silver coins and lead,
right,
and iron.
And
at that frequency. But
and that's one of the major things too, Craig. Between the people want to compare Equinox to this and that. Equinox is also multiple frequency at the same time, if I remember right. So you're dealing not only with it's spanning where like the Simplex is 12 kilohertz. I mean, or the AT Pro. I think it's flat out just a plain single frequency machine. Minelab's been doing this for a while now with these multiple, and that's going to make a detector react differently.
I can also run single frequency, and
right.
Like if you run in 15 kilohertz, it's so quiet. It's unbelievably quiet, especially the EMI. The multi-frequency tends to be a little bit noisier, in some cases with the EMI. But the noise canceling. I don't know. Do you have noise canceling on the Simplex?
Well, I have the iron volume. Noise canceling. I don't know. I haven't used it. If I do,
it's like a frequency. You push it, and it goes through the frequencies.
Yeah. Frequency offset. Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
In there. Yeah. I think I can go 3 or 4 or 5, something like that. Levels on that. The only other machine I could think of. We were talking about multiple frequency. I remember this White Spectrum. I mean, it's still out. V3. Would run, I think it was 2.5, 12.5, and 22.5 or something like that. It could run multiple frequencies at the same time or single out one frequency. That's the only, and they did it with the screen too. I mean, that's an interesting machine, Craig. I need to probably talk about that one sometime or another. That was an interesting machine to use because when you pulled up the analysis screen, like Pinpoint it actually have a bar for each frequency and tell you which frequency it's hitting the hardest on. It would also help you identify a target or whatever. See what something might be in the ground. In other words, if it's hitting really high on the iron or the gold side, whatever, you could kind of tell what it was going to be bottle cap wise or what have you. There's a lot of ins and outs as far as multiple frequency machines that can help you out a lot, especially when you're dealing with analysis screens. So I think Gavin was asking something else here. He wanted to know if heard any news when the Vanquish will be coming out in the States and the prices of it.
I see some comparison videos already between the Simplex and the Vanquish.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that. I have to check them out.
Yeah, I didn't really watch them. I haven't. I'm not interested in getting either machine, so I just didn't really watch them. But I'll have to go back and see what's going on. But
Gavin's thinking it's using the same frequencies as the Nox. So if it's a multiple frequency machine like the Nox, well, guess we'll see. I'd watch his videos. I'm really curious about that. I'd like to see how it compares to the Simplex, price wise, and what it can do. I can't go by looks, but
it also, it collapses down. That's built into the machine,
right?
And which is pretty nice. When I first looked at it, I was thinking it would look like a cheaper machine with, sort of like a base 250,
Right.
350 type control panel. But when I got a better look at it, it does look, it doesn't look as cheap as I thought it did. It actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at. I should have been looking at the Vanquish already, but I didn't think it was going to be even out until like January, February, or something like that. I wasn't sure.
Well, they're starting to be released, to certain people because it's like the Simplex got released to a bunch of
right.
people 6 months, I think, ahead of time over in England mostly.
Yeah.
UK.
Well, send one over here. Let Craig try it out. Shoot. Some of you out there, let me play with it for a while. Doggone, I'll give it a fair shot. I'm just curious on how it's going to work. I mean, all this technology, Craig, that's coming out, these newer, the way they're doing stuff is really interesting to me. Anyways, I love that they're considerably better than what I've purchased in the past or whatever we're keeping up with at a lower cost. I mean, it's a buyer's market out there. But yeah, throw one at Craig. He tests the crap out of that Equinox. So.
Well, I love it because you got several companies that are starting to push, and it's going to cause the price to go down on machines, and it's going to make it more competitive. They're going to, there's certain features now that if you don't have them on your machine, you're not going to be selling them. Once you got these very light machines, people don't want any heavy machines anymore. It's just, it's ridiculous.
The only time I want a heavier machine, or I'll use a heavier machine, is if it's better. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I don't care what a machine really weighs. If it's considerably better, it's like the bliss tool. I mean, I know with a 15-inch coil, it's about 3.92 pounds, probably about we'll say 4.2 pounds with the 15-inch coil, but I know that I'm going to be able to hit stuff shoulder deep if I want, if it's there to find. So yeah, I'll make the sacrifice. A little heavier machine, but if I'm digging stuff, I'm already digging stuff 10 to 12 inches down with the Simplex. I mean, it depends on the size of the item and everything like that. But looks wise, I don't care if it's purple and pink. I don't care as long as the machine works good. That it really looks has nothing to do with it. It's how well it works, how durable it is. That's the important thing with a metal detector. I mean, so if the Vanquish, I'd love to see the perform. I'm going to watch the videos right after I take her to the doctor. But after I get back, I'm going to start watching those comparison videos just because I'm kind of curious of what they're, how it's going to compare. I might have to get a Vanquish also. Shoot. But Gavin's saying that it was, he did say on here that it uses the same frequencies as the 600 dock. So I don't know how the difference is between the 6 and 800, Craig. I'm not familiar with the 600 as much at all. But I guess we'll leave it at that, Craig. We're already about a quarter to 8. I got to get flying today, get over these doctor's appointments and everything else like that with her, and I might get to detecting tomorrow. I haven't figured out if I'm going to have time or not. I want to get out in the morning and hit that spot again and just keep on digging up all that goodies out of there. So,
yeah,
I'm having fun. But
definitely, you had a dry spell for a while, so it's kind of fun when you get into a good spot like that.
It's all fun and games until you have to clean this stuff, Craig. I got so many doggone items that I know could be good or maybe good or whatever, so I'm kind of collecting these things up, and I guess in the summertime I'm going to be cleaning more of them and definitely trying to get more information, but I'm digging my butt off. I mean, I ain't dug that many holes every time I go out in a long time, and just so many targets. It's fun though. Hey, I'll take that over going 2 hours between targets. So
yeah, really.
Oh my God,
you mean 2 hours between shotgun shells?
Yeah, pretty much, and maybe a bullet if I'm lucky. And it's like, oh my God, 2 or 3 months of that would make you just want to beat your head against the wall. But if it's not there to find, you're not going to find it. It's just that I just haven't gotten the right spot over there. And I'll take the Simplex into the same spots, by the house and everything. See what it does, because I know I had the Bliss tool in there, I had the Quest Pro in there. I mean, if I find anything older than 1925, I know that either I number one didn't get my coil over it before, or the Simplex just outdid whatever I was using in here before. It was able to unmask it better. This, it's an impressive machine with as far as the unmasking capability. That really kind of shocked me. But any rate, let's get off of here, Craig. Y'all have a great day. Be safe out there. I know a lot of you guys are getting those winter storms and stuff. I know Brandon is up there in New York, all the lake effect snow and everything. Y'all be careful and stay warm and be safe. We'll talk to you on what's today, Craig? Wednesday, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So Friday morning. I'm losing track of my mind. That's what it is. Thank God I have a license so I know what my name is. See y'all later.